meeting to order at 6:02. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Zach Gainer.
Here.
Patty Burns. Here. Evan King.
Here.
Joanna Para.
Here.
Sherry Simmons. Here. Don Weber.
Here.
Matt Lyman.
Here
And
and hydrated.
very good. And your ex officio this evening is Counselor Mandy Hagedorn. Here.
Present. All right, approval of the minutes. Everybody get a chance to review them.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from May 12th.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Public comment?
Didn't receive anything prior to the meeting and I don't believe there's anybody online.
All right. We'll move right into review Public Parks Board goal number 4. Which is the design, development, and management plan for a park system that is efficient to maintain and operate while protecting capital investment.
A good one.
It's a good one. Do we need to do anything with it?
I mean, I think the key thing is the budget. My understanding is Dustin can say that, but we're giving you more people, right? I mean, one of our biggest issues, I think, in the maintenance of parks is that you have enough staff to do what you have to do. So I think that's progress if you have more staff to do things. I mean, I read it right, the new new budget has more staff, right?
It depends on how you look at it, because the staff person that is going to be added to the parks budget per se is a program supervisor, and it's kind of like a multi-use.
So I'm talking about public works.
Public Works?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for Public Works, yeah, but it's gonna be strictly a water position.
But you had talked about the need to have more staff because you had trouble getting the lawns mowed and things done and keeping all the parks up. Because we have a new park. Isn't there more money in the budget to help? Like with the Sunset Ridge Park and
The money that I have requested in the budget is more specifically towards, like, in that sense would be for professional services for landscaping contract. And there hasn't been a whole lot of change to the parks. Overall budget besides that. And that even then, that went to a greater facilities and maintenance fund.
Anybody else have anything? Is it, are we happy with the way it is written, Mandy?
I was just curious if there's any metrics applied to this goal that help to set and or define what efficient. Efficiency means to maintain and operate. Is that connected? So what, do we have any metrics that we're setting assigned to this goal?
no,
Okay.
I mean, that's a fair question. Though. You're saying, how do we know if this was accomplished?
Yeah.
Nobody yells at the city, don't get any complaint calls. I don't know. I mean,
That's a good question, like from I know that I always hear random stuff that where Dustin's team is always triaging, right? And so whether it's trash or big rapid maintenance, I wasn't sure if there was anything there that we're targeting to reduce in order to maintain service levels. I wasn't sure if there's any problems being solved that are mounted to that goal.
I don't know if that is outside of the realm of what we're supposed to be looking at.
Fair enough, I mean, fair enough.
I think that we're looking at, park systems.
Okay,
Right, but she's asking, how do we know if we make goals, so what, how do we know if they were accomplished?
Criteria for success, I guess.
Right,
Well, if we set goals, if
Pardon?
we set goals and they're completed, then they're completed.
Do we periodically evaluate, like, are we now? One thing is to talk about if the goal was written correctly, but the other thing is to discuss. If the goal is happening, right? Is that a different
Well,
meeting?
if we have a goal and we give it to Public Works, they would report back to us if it's completed or if it's not completed and whatever the issue is.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I had a question.
Matt,
Just
sorry.
a thought, and maybe it's just something sort of stuck in my head, is we talk about. Like maintaining what we have, and I think of the Jesse May building here. Like that's kind of on my mind, like it just. I should just probably relax, let it go, but like the kitchen not being useful,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure of the conditions of the restaurant, but I think they're okay. But
Yeah.
just, you know, it's a building that's a great, that is a good asset for us, you know, so many people. But I feel like probably over the years, like it's fallen into a little bit of disrepair. And so maybe some attention from our city people as well. And, you know, if we can start to squirrel away some money to fix things and sort of create this, create a great facility here.
Agreed, and I think that we do have some money in our parks. For parks, right? Would the kitchen fall under that?
Is
Because
the
I-
Parks. The Parks Foundation not gonna do the kitchen?
Parks,
I haven't heard from them on what's going on.
So with the funds, the vast majority of the funds that we have available are from SDCs. SDCs cannot be used to upgrade existing facilities. It has to be basically a brand new service. So if we're building a brand new park someplace,
Right.
putting in a brand new playground where there wasn't an existing playground, that kind of stuff qualifies for the SDCs. And we do not have a whole lot of money for repairs and maintenance. For like our existing facilities, like we are trying to budget it in there, but we just do not have that.
So all the money in the parks is from SDCs?
No, the parks money that we have are basically the general fund, and there's a good portion of the general fund that is supported by the water fund. That makes sense. Like there's no money for parks. We do what?
Cause it seems like if we could get this fixed, updated. We could start making and generating income from this building. And we're not doing that.
I think the biggest question mark, I did some research, talked to a few people, read some stuff, I think. Likely from our regular budget, it's hard to get any money, but the unique thing is the Urban Renewal Agency. Has millions of dollars sitting in it to be used. Within its boundaries. We currently aren't in the boundaries, but they're across the street. That is a fairly easy thing, I was told. In theory, this could be brought within the boundaries. If it were in the boundaries, potentially there's $1 million or something you could use. Because my understanding from doing some research is these type of projects do apply in the Urban Renewal Agency framework. Now, I don't think we have to answer that now, but I think it would be worth doing more research. Again, I've done some research, was told, yeah, likely that could work. But again, I think it's worth looking at if it's an option, because I think this dream that we're talking about would be to fix this up properly, be able to rent it out. The citizens would love that, a place to have parties, make it nice, make a nice kitchen, right? But potentially the Urban Renewal Agency is a wonderful thing. We potentially are gonna do it for another 20 years. That's gonna likely generate maybe $20 million, and that's supposed to be used for revitalization within your boundaries, which this could be in the boundaries. I mean, currently now the boundaries are right across the street, so not far away. So, Again.
Dustin and Lori were at the budget committee and I was too, but I've slept since then. I do remember a line item tied to, Jesse Mays when we were talking about budget. And I swear Bill hummed a bar on Jesse Mays. Do any of you recall?
A lot of the Jesse Mays is its own fund. It's not part of the Parks Department. So technically, it's not a parks thing.
And he did that so that we could keep an eye on the money and how much it's costing us to use it and run it and how much we're getting out of it for rental. Right now, our rental fees are extremely low compared to
Terrible.
all the other.
But did that hurt us until we actually get to a place where we need to be there, have it into its own?
It takes staff when we rent it
Mhm.
and it's public works staff
Mhm.
that's already spread a little too thin.
Mhm.
We are renting the pavilion every weekend by 3, 4, 5 people. But Bill has said that in general, he's not comfortable with the city renting this building in the condition that it is.
Right.
We do use it for city events for, because we have it and we have the staff you guys always help set it up and everything, but he's not comfortable renting it out to the public, especially if they want to use the kitchen, because what's in there right now is not. I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable renting it to someone that wanted to use the kitchen, would you?
Yes.
It's not the most ideal, but I know what we have in, let's say, for basic maintenance of the building, and we're talking about, siding, roof, HVAC. That's the kind of money that we have in the buildings and maintenance fund, not necessarily for a whole remodel. I know years ago, before I got here, there was a plan for this place and it was like $5 or $6 million to do it. It was a really neat plan, but it's just more of, it's gonna cost a lot of money to do an upgrade in here. And, are we gonna recoup that money over time? By doing rentals and whatnot, just, for a better kitchen, like, what is the,
That's a great question, like a modeling exercise.
yeah.
Would be interesting.
I'm just looking just for nibbles of it, I'm taking the whole building on is huge, but just. Kitchen, say we paint the walls, so we be more modern.
The biggest priority that I know, and then, Bill has a lot more to say about the Urban Renewal Agency, and he'll have a lot to say about
The
that.
boundary probably won't change on that for 2 years at least,
So what?
the boundary. It's a
The-
process.
Technically, the city council could make a decision, my understanding, to change it if they wanted. There are, again, it needs more conversation. I don't wanna try to decide it now.
That's more of a Bill question.
Yeah.
And that could be a
Yes,
Urban
let's
Renewal
not
Agency.
worry about it for now.
We can do with that. But one of the big priorities that even Bill had said for this building was to get our sound system and our AV system set.
That's the priority.
That's the priority right now for this. And that's going to be more or less like we are basically begging, MAC for a grant to be able to do that. So we're trying to get from whatever funds that we can to make this building better, one bit by bit. And so it's just,
I think there was money already found for that.
There is some, half, we found, $60,000, yeah, but we are waiting for Mac they're the ones that are working on getting quotes and
Okay.
finding people to do what we need to have
Okay.
done here. It's pretty specialized, considering, since we don't have really any updated equipment, it's right, so.
yeah, and that was something that we have discussed as staff before is if people want to come in here and use the sound system or whatever, we need to actually have a really good, something that's user friendly, push
Yeah,
a button,
push
push
a
a value.
Yeah,
Because right now, people come in and they ask, hey, how do you use it? And it's not super user friendly. And so those are the kind of things that we're trying to work out first, and we've gotten more inquiries about that kind of setup as opposed to having the kitchen. We don't get very many requests to use the kitchen. And that's the other part. But we do have a lot of requests for the sound system.
Yeah.
You know, again, my only suggestion would be if we can't decide it now, but put it on a future agenda. Get somebody who's an expert along with Bill on the urban renewal. It potentially, the beauty of the urban renewal, it's got millions of dollars already in the fund, undesignated, just sitting there. They had $1 million in the bank they set aside to do downtown development. In the last 2-year budget, only spent about 20,000 out of the million because it didn't work out. So that is a wonderful source of money. And again,
Well, we could send a request to the council to consider that. Or to the URA board to consider that.
we can encourage them. I wouldn't mind us being part of, you know, again, it's all hopes and
We're all
dreams.
advisory
Yeah.
here.
Obviously, yeah,
So-
so our hopes and dreams, like Matt is saying, what are some things we can do to make this more usable? We'll know more in another week or so, but presuming there's a parks coordinator hired, this would be a wonderful facility to use for some things if we could fix it up, right?
Yeah.
It has, I was a part of a group that fixed up a gym just like this. And it's a wonderful sized gym just for kids stuff. You can have a single basket, take the ceiling out, take the stage out, fix the kitchen. I mean, this is a very usable gym, especially for younger kids. If we can generate the source of revenue, which we're gonna need to defer that question to some, you know, the URA folks, so.
I think there's a
Anyway.
meeting, coming up too. Isn't there?
What?
There's
URA?
speculation. There's percolation.
For URA?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys are gonna start discussing, cause it sunsets in 27, so
26.
whatever, you guys will be approving, hiring a consultant to do that, go through that whole process. That's why I said it's not something that can be done in a couple months. It's not really something that council can do without first going through the process of redrawing the boundaries, and there's a lot of rules with the URA, a lot.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, there's the question though. Current money can be spent if it meets the rules. Future 26 on, if they add another 20 years, that's a pretty complicated discussion. But in theory, there's a bunch of money sitting there right now that in theory could be used in the next year. But again, it needs way more discussion.
It can't be used in the next year,
not here.
not here.
My understanding, again, somebody else passed away and besides, but I talked to somebody, they said city council could my understanding is minor adjustments to the boundaries of the URA are allowed with a resolution of the city council. They could, as long as it's a small add-on, which this building and would be a small add-on. They could do that at a
I
city
don't
council
think
meeting.
that's right. I'm not sure who you talked to, but that does not sound
I
right.
was referred to what the regular rule is, but there's a bunch of land in there now has houses that's not usable for what they said. You know, again, it's not far-fetched that you can tweak the boundaries, because it's a 20-year plan, so of course they would give you a few options in a 20-year time period. Again, major changes to the boundaries are not allowed. What I was told was minor, again, let somebody else who knows more than me, I'm not an authority on this, but it potentially is a really, really helpful thing for us. So what the heck, let's check it out. There are millions of dollars currently sitting in the fund, undesignated, waiting to be spent.
I remember from our last meeting. The reason why they can't just put it to this building is it has to be connected to a certain range and they're focusing on commercial areas. There's no commercial purple renewables here around the Jesse May, obviously. And they only have so much area to play with for that. But I remember that, we did discuss that last time, right?
That is very, very close. It's like the urban renewal agency, to my understanding, is to focus on building the businesses in the community. As opposed to just going to a parks or like a new civic building. And I think that's where the focus was, that's the intent of the focus was businesses.
Because the problem would be, just to drag it out here, that'd take away a good section, just to be able to drag the boundary out this way.
I would defer to somebody, I have consulted a few people, they said, I think you could do that, URAs have done that in the past. Again, I
Have
would
you
defer,
spoken with somebody with Washington County or the state?
I would say let's get somebody in.
Yeah, instead of just talking.
But I'm not
somebody.
sure, well, and we're all doing it, I mean, again, if this would work, it's worth checking out.
I mean, we can ask the question.
Yeah, that's all I'm
I
saying,
mean, it's worth an ask.
consult the experts.
Yeah. Okay,
I like goal number 4. I think it's good.
you think it's good the way it is? Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I'll have it as well, and I think the first question in regards to the metrics. I think we're all on hold, because the last metrics measured for the master plan was based off of data from 2017. Which created the master plan, I believe, in 2018, and it was looking at the future. And being that on the future right now, the city, we're on hold because there's no, right now, plan for the urban growth, or it's all on hold. It's kind of putting everything, so this is kind of a plan on how to propose that growth and how that growth would be within the city and how that will affect parks. But I think there have been really no metrics to measure, because we've used up the land, we've used up, we're going back and talking about. And I think the focus is on right now on the business with the land that is available to grow, so there's no metrics to measure until an urban growth is decided upon or done, if that's the case.
I would like to challenge that notion, because I don't think you need to have I'm reading this as plan for park system that is efficient to maintain, operate while maintaining capital investment. A lot of that also infers sustainability, right? And to
But everything else-
encourage usage, so I wouldn't say that is a 1-for-1.
It is not a 1-for-1, but the
Exactly.
majority of reading through the whole goal, because the goal has how many points? It has 4 point. It's not just 1 point of the current is just one aspect of it, it has like 6 points, and
Yeah.
the majority of the other ones are now looking towards the
7.
future. So you are right, it's not just about what I'm saying, but, only 1 point holds to what we currently have, and the rest is all now looking at the future.
Understood, maybe a consideration, and this is just up to you, I mean, I'm just a rebel rouser. If like risk mitigation perspective, right? Bottom line, we know we have to maintain and sustain our current operations, quality of life, and improve. And in order to maintain engagement with residents and with our parks, right? And so maybe there's a decoupling and breaking this into something that can, into several goals almost. So that's all, that's an observation that I saw. But this, if this organization feels comfortable with that goal, I'm all behind you guys on that. And it sounds like you guys are.
All right. The agenda list, we'll move over to that. So we reviewed the goal number 4. There was a question on here, to review recreation programs. Can we start putting in motion and plan for any programs? I guess maybe similar to what we did last year. Or something different.
What's the agenda item we're looking at now?
It's on your very back page.
Oh,
It was the attachment, the very back of your pile, Don. The very back of your pile.
It's like on my screen right here, Don.
It's on the very back page.
new business.
very back page, turn it over. There you go. So it's the agenda list for the Parks Board meeting.
So I would like to bring that to some, I don't know if it's too late for right now, the summer, to bring kind of what Dawn and I worked on last year with that. Bringing something as simple as bringing open play to the elementary schools during the spring, summer. But one thing to note on is if, knock on wood, the budget gets approved, and if that does bring that programming staff person into place, I think that's where we will have more of a guided person than to hopefully us as a committee board to support them into what that programming or what that can look like and allow us to then support that person.
Yeah, we're kind of on
We're
hold,
kind of
waiting
waiting,
for that.
waiting, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
until then, the only thing I can think of was doing something as what we did last year with the open play at the elementary schools. I don't know how that would look like right now, right? It's something that we can table it, if everybody agrees to. When that time comes, maybe in the fall, then in the fall plan for the spring and summer.
Yeah, if
There's a staff.
a staff person
Yeah.
is approved, it's probably it'll take a few months there before they're
Right.
hired and then.
Exactly.
Okay. How can the Parks and Rec Committee volunteer participate in city community outreach? What would we be outreaching for, I guess, would be the first question.
Well, that to me would be one. If we had a plan with the foundation in regards to the kitchen, it'd be to outreach, it would have been to have outreach to allow the community for that component of it.
Mhm.
But that's something again that is on, I don't know, what's that. The other outreach part would be. If we moved forward with some type of a programming, or even if we support, the North Plains events with what is being done with the movies in the park outreach, that we can also help and outreach for that. Or any of that, so it's using us as a support system, I don't know, I came onto this board as. Not just to attend the monthly meeting, but also as to a growing city, to what can we do that. We can support, not duplicate efforts that maybe someone else is doing, but us as a board, that we're in the parks and the programming, and it's all that, component of it. What can we do? If someone else is doing the work, where can we as a committee or a board support that effort into that events that are happening in the city? Or where can we support the effort to bring an outreach or communication to the city of the needs of parks that we could work with currently? One being the kitchen that we are also wanting as a priority, so. Those are the things of outreach, but I know we don't have anything concrete to outreach, so that would be the bill.
Yeah.
That puts us back in.
The only other,
In a hole.
the only other thing, that we could outreach for would be the community satisfaction with what we have so far.
Yes, exactly,
That's probably the only thing that we can actually solidly
Which-
obtain.
which we did last year at the ice cream.
Yes.
And again, from that outreach, and if we take that information and all those boards that were put together, it all holds to kind of what people are looking towards the future, right? So again, it brings us back to being an old, because people are looking at what the growth on.
Right,
So when we did that already last year,
okay, Counselor.
What about, reaching out to the community for any volunteers that have special skills that they'd like to contribute? Such as teaching classes,
Such as what?
teaching classes.
See, my thing is, I think hopefully we're so close to hiring somebody, I think it's better that flows through. I tried doing that and I think it was successful considering we only spent $500, but. It's complicated just to do that through volunteers, you gotta make sure you get your insurance figured out. I do know a lot of names of people that would help us, but I think the appropriate way to do it is get a paid person
I agree.
and then the volunteers
Yeah.
flow through them. I just think,
I think, just to clarify, it might be helpful just to have that information and those insights in preparation and anticipation of this new person. Like, we've already done the legwork, we've got interest in X, Y, Z, we took a poll with the community, we have 10 kids that wanna play basketball. We have 35 people that wanna knit and 45 people that want to, play hopscotch.
I mean, I've talked to a lot of people and what they want is, all you gotta do is go to the Hillsborough Parks and Rec site and see what they're letting kids sign up for. They want all that stuff. I mean, that's what they want. They want programming for all ages.
I
Now,
think that's a doing, right? I don't know if, I was just curious if you guys have done a survey to that degree.
I do it informally. Everybody I know, I have grandkids 4 and 6 years old, and everybody in that age group, they sign up for Hillsborough and Parks and Rec summer programs.
Well, at Survey Monkey to Sean's,
Pardon?
you're our walking survey monkey of the North.
Well, I mean, they want that stuff. They want, I mean, we don't have a swimming pool, so it's not swimming lessons, but they want. Different levels of soccer, they want different levels of basketball, they want, now we'd have to
And
just.
there were surveys done before the master plan as well, that we had done over like a year's time. It was at the Garlic Festival, it was at multiple events.
Awesome, okay.
And got lots of information from that.
Well, it sounds like if when this new person lands, you guys will be able to give them your one to end list of priorities.
Well,
for programming.
it wouldn't be very hard to do, because we have contacts. I have more contacts in Adfilati School, but it's easy to make contacts in both schools. And the parents will tell you, which ones would you like to sign up for? And again, they have basic questions, of course, how much you're gonna charge? That's one of the complaints I hear for these summer
And
programs.
again, where are you gonna do stuff?
Pardon?
And again, where are you gonna do stuff, like classes, where are you gonna do classes? Will the school let you do classes in their gymnasium?
Yes. Yeah, we could do dance classes, we could do all kinds of sports, we could do some lower level soccer. Adfilati has a beautiful field outside. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff we could do. Again, what I'm excited about is I think we should feel very good. I mean, it has to reach the final level, but so far there is a staff person in the budget, and that, from my perspective, that's the key. I don't think a volunteer-led Parks and Rec is gonna take off. I've got lots of names of people who wouldn't mind helping, but
Right.
we need
The internal.
yeah. Yeah, and you're, you're more the expert because you've worked in Parks and Rec. And, I mean, I think that's been your perspective too, right? We need a staff person.
Yeah, we just staff person, kind of leading on, they're the ones to
Yeah,
guide, and we come together, do the work together, but then the staff person's the one that goes and disperses and gathers and collects and all of that, and
I think it would be nice maybe to maybe work with that person as well to come up with a community volunteer group to help maintain like the rose beds in front of the murals, things like that. Where we can get people maybe on a quarterly or every other month for an hour to come out and.
Well,
And
and we've
we
had
don't-
civic groups contact us in church groups and they say, hey, we want to spend a Saturday doing something for the city. So if if you guys go to your church and say, hey, let's do a civic thing,
Well,
we are always looking for
Well,
that.
that's part of an outreach though that we could do.
Yeah,
We could send that notice.
Cause they could, I
Mhm.
mean, they could spread bark dust at the parks, they could,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
there's lots of things that can be done.
To help
Yeah, I'm always.
keep the city looking nice.
I always feel like the area in front of the mural should be a priority since it's right on
It's
our main
very
drag.
visible.
And,
yeah. Mhm.
well, you guys know, I used to do it on Fridays.
Mhm.
That was my job 2 and 3 summers ago, and I loved it, but I can't do it now with all the stuff going on, so. But I know just last year, we had a church group that did that area as well as this entrance sign to town. They scrubbed it and cleaned it up and stuff, so
Yeah,
Boy Scout groups, I mean, those are the kind of things that we should be looking too, to help with programs, to help with these kinds of things.
The perfect group for a commercial building area is the Knights of Pythia. They do volunteer things. They're straight across the street. I mean, I think they would be the perfect group. Cause it's not that big of area. Say, would you folks?
They did, they
sponsor
helped,
this?
they worked more for the veterans though.
Pardon?
They worked more for the veterans. They did the Veterans Park
Yeah,
and they do veterans outreach and, help them. So that's their thing.
Okay.
Is for veterans. So,
I'm surprised, I bet there's a lot of school kids that would have volunteer requirements for any home or pocket.
well, yeah, that's what I mean. We've had Pep Scout groups, we've had a couple of actually,
Yeah.
whatever, Eagle Scout,
Yes.
they're going for their Eagle Scouts. They built bat houses.
mhm.
That's
A
amazing.
few years back, yeah, so there's, I mean, you know. I'm sure there's lots of groups, we just need to reach out,
List and,
let them know there's an opportunity.
yeah,
We need to come up with our opportunities.
Yep,
A
yeah,
list of our opportunities and then we can start getting that word out.
yeah.
Mhm.
I like your rose.
In my previous job, I got a lot of work done because I signed up with the city for people that were trying to work off their speeding tickets. And they assigned them to do yard work where it was at, so we could work with the city police, have them give out more tickets, but give an option of either pay your tickets or do the flower beds.
Sure, that's gonna go over real well.
You're creative.
It used to, maybe when we had the judge here, but
Oh,
they haven't been here in many years.
no,
that's true.
they have to go
With
with
Washington,
Washington.
you have the judge
Yes.
here.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything regarding?
Also, I just, in passing, I wanna let you guys know that the Economic Development Commission, every year on cleanup day, they choose a business and they go help them do whatever they need done on the outside of their business.
Oh,
The first year they did sisters and stuff. And they helped paint the building and planted flowers and stuff. I honestly don't know what they did this year. I didn't ask them, but anyway, they just do it one day a year. Personally, I like to see every board and commission do that
Ah,
at least once a year in town, but I'm not in a position to bring that forward, so. But it's good for people to see the volunteers that are on boards and committees out working in the city and, it's a good way for the board members to get to know the community a little bit more.
So that would go nice with sprucing up that area you're talking about, like in the spring, summer time, us as a board,
mhm.
that sign, right, you're talking about the one on,
Not the one on, but the other one in front of the little house,
The
entry sign.
the entry when you come over the freeway.
got it,
That little one,
yeah.
because this one, Patty replanted all that stuff
Mhm.
and,
Well, that one too, yeah.
yeah.
Like
And
those
then they're doing a pretty good job of keeping it weeded and the corner.
Is that the hired?
The Highland Court,
No,
Showplace, I've actually hired Showplace, they just go there.
Not Highland Court right here at Glencoe and West Union.
Yeah, that's the one we're talking about,
Oh,
right?
okay,
Highland Court in West,
no,
no, Highland
No,
Court.
no,
No,
where the food carts are, that sign.
yeah, Showplace is doing that one.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, Showplace is doing that now, okay.
Yeah, it was Isaiah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for him.
okay. Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, so.
I know 2 years ago, EDC did Richards Ridge up here. They helped plant trees along the sidewalk that was put in, the new sidewalk. Richards Ridge is where the food carts are.
Okay.
And EDC planted, new trees and
I remember that.
helped, trim up stuff. And then, anyway, that was so they've done it this was their third year of doing it on cleanup, doing something on cleanup day.
Nice.
So that's, yeah, Lisa Fry, always, that's her biggie.
Oh, good. I know Lisa.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we need to write our list on what to report to the council about.
The quarterly.
The quarterly. What have we accomplished?
Did we get our name effectively changed to committee officially?
Oh,
No,
did I miss that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to, figure out if we want to even bother doing that, if there's nothing else to change. Did anybody come up with something else to change or additional goals to add to it? If not, why would we go through it just to change a name? It's a lot of expense and time.
it is.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That means leaving it as the parks, is it?
Parks and Rec Board.
Okay.
Actually, I think it might just be the Parks Board,
Yeah,
but so, and that's fine. I mean, maybe in a couple of years, if we actually get programs built up where they're
Yeah.
consistent, then you would maybe
Go
want
back
back
and
at changing it.
Then,
I mean, I don't think the word matters as much as if when new people start, we just need to explain, we're an advisory board. We're advisory board, advisory committee, doesn't matter. but
and
we're
it states
advisory.
it, yeah.
Yeah, we don't get to decide anything, so people don't get frustrated.
Okay, so are we good? We're gonna let that go? Everybody good with that?
We'll die on that hill another day.
Here you go. Perfect, thank you.
It's not a big, one, we'll die on it. We'll find the right here.
All right,
so maybe that should be one thing that we, since we said last time that we were going to. we
okay.
should Just do that update thing, we
I
decided
know
since
we change.
there's really nothing to change on our. We're gonna hold on.
Okay. There's one. What else have we done for the last 3 months?
We've just been going through the goals. The master plan.
So this is June 1 and 4, so we reviewed 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, yeah. We're officially done with the bylaws. And then we did the application, the nonprofit. The nonprofit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Paperwork for
the rental.
rent these.
Oh, the fee waiver
Mhm.
There you
thing,
go.
yeah,
I have not heard anything about that. Did that
yeah,
get approved?
Council approved it,
And
yeah.
it's all. That's nice to hear.
I filled that paperwork out.
yeah.
Okay.
So now, yeah, so technically, nobody else has seen it, but we should have had it done to send or put in the packet. And then they would all the board members minus you two, because you'd have to recuse yourselves, would look it over and say, yes, we agree, and then it goes to Bill for, that's the process. Is you guys have to approve all fee waivers,
What guys?
the park board. Cause you guys created this document, this is the process. Council approved it, said, yep, you guys can do that.
That wasn't part of the process.
Well,
It was
'cause
my
Bill and I just
understanding.
talked about it today.
That's news to us.
So,
I guess they figured since it's
We
a building
created it. It
under our-
doesn't say to send to us. that
definitely
part was
doesn't make
left open because we didn't know which staff member would be handling that.
Well, I'll give it to Bill.
What's the question again?
They're saying that all nonprofits need to come to us. Why would we have that? We're just
No, what she's
advisory.
saying is the nonprofits fill out an application for a waiver. Then it
And
comes,
we approve it.
right,
How can we approve it?
parks, how do parks approve it?
How could we approve it? We don't have that authority.
We get a recommend, I think what she was saying is we simply recommend, yes, that's good. And then the council,
If they meet the criteria, that's all that's needed. Why would it have to come to us? You either meet the criteria or you don't.
So
That's
they're saying
how
they're
they
all
set
cutting
it
to
up.
us, or the ones that don't meet the criteria again, are cutting to us.
I think that's exemptions.
Is
But I
that what
also
it is,
don't
Lori?
remember.
The ones that don't meet the criteria to come to us?
I'm gonna ask Bill about it.
Okay. Yeah, this
because you're
is,
saying it's not a subjective discussion, it's objective based on you make it, you're in.
correct. Yeah, and that's how it was written.
Okay,
Well, it sounds like, Crystal Lights has it on the order. And I wish I could remember that conversation. I remember discussing it.
Yeah, I've got it. I mean, I can pull it up from the previous. From the council meeting that it was a consensus vote,
Yeah.
because it's not a resolution. or
We all approved it.
Yeah,
I remember
but-
that. I don't remember the discussion.
But I'm gonna ask Bill about.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense.
right. Keep it simple.
We stay out of the process.
I don't, we need it, right?
Oh, I thought the way we wrote it was.
It's just.
It's just very straightforward.
They're person, yeah,
And if it's anything outside of that, then they would
appeal
appeal
to
it to
council.
council. Yeah, that's what was initially discussed.
Okay,
That's the only other thing is. Is to ask the council if there's anything else they want us to work on like that. For the next quarter or something. You know,
Yeah, we could put that as a. All right. Anything else? No? Have you heard anything, Evan, from the foundation board?
I have not.
Okay.
I knew, last thing I heard is my father was going to have a talk with Cindy, but I haven't heard anything more than that.
I have on my notes, I'll be reaching out to her. So,
She's out of commission for a little while, right?
well, she can be on her computer.
Well, that's what I mean, I
Yeah.
assumed that,
Yeah.
you know, she sent the chamber stuff out and. Oh, check it tomorrow, but she probably won't.
Probably will. Maybe on crutches or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Does, anybody else have anything else that they wanna bring up or? None?
bring up in terms of where are we on the agenda?
We're done.
What about?
Oh, no, sorry, we have the lake property,
What we're getting out of the city council,
yes.
Business.
this is the asset that chip into the kitchen, but.
Who?
Have the city council chip into the kitchen, but. That's a dead horse right now.
Yeah.
Kicked it well. You can keep coming now.
Always welcome, visitors always welcome.
Okay, so let's talk about the lake property. and the agri-hood. The. Dawn, did you want to talk about that since you're the one who brought it forward to begin with?
Yeah, who did Jacqueline Hunt reach out to? Did she reach out to committees or,
About the agri,
yeah,
she gave public comment at city council.
oh, that's where I saw. Yeah, so Jacqueline Hunt, to my understanding, is one of the, she's a crop, right? So she's one of the, I guess, owners of
Property
the
owner.
lake.
Mhm.
And she said, she would be interested in a discussion if they could do this agri-hood thing, perhaps around the lake. That could be this exciting agricultural park blend. And maybe that would be an interesting idea for the city to explore. My thing would be, again, we can't decide anything now, it's a long range thing, but could we create a more open conversation about what are the possibilities of developing the land around the lake, around that old, where the Lakeview pumpkin patch was? What are our options? How would that relate to, potentially, how does that affect urban growth boundaries? What if we did something that was playing on the farm theme and a park? But then, again, it's a complicated discussion, obviously. My thing is, though, it might be a conversation to nudge in the right direction. I mean, that land, of all the land in the discussion, got the most positive feedback. People love the idea of a large park. We've talked about it. We don't have more land. They love the idea of being around water. There's already a railroad there that was built for kids. You could restore that. I mean, it's got a lot of charm. It's got some extra land that potentially could be done this agri farm thing. Anyway, it's an exciting possibility. Again, it's a long range thing, but could we start some of that and find out? It's also, granted, it's a very complicated discussion about what things you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Other places have told me they brought in land before that's just like a giant park. That's not like an urban growth boundary housing expansion. It's simply a giant park they brought into an area.
But who would take care of it then?
All that has
Because
to be
the-
figured out and
Because the
funded.
city couldn't do it if
Pardon?
it's not part of the urban growth boundary. The city couldn't do it.
Again, it's all gotta be figured out. I mean, like I told you, I was shocked. I stumbled on this couple 100-acre one by Forest Grove that was fully funded, I guess, by Portland Metro. So there are some surprisingly large models of these areas around the Portland area.
There's one in Salem that's really intricate that I've been looking at, over the weekend. It's called Pringle Creek, if anybody wants. And it's all
What's it
about
called?
Pringle Creek Community.
And
And they have their own website. It's pccsalem.com. Because they're all about sustainability and creating sustainable neighborhoods. So it's kind of creating like a cohesive neighborhood where it's living, sustainability, nature, and kind of all cohesive within one. They are all about the, continuing the farming and continuing that aspect of it, but also creating living spaces. So that's a good one. That I found a lot of information about it, and it really talks about, the business aspect, the farming aspect, the living aspect, all of that, and it's been sustainable, and it's been doing really good.
How old is it?
I know. See, I don't know what I can do, how old it is, I just literally have been on to reading, and every time I press something, I.
so you said it's
So it's the-
Pringle with an E?
Pringle.
There you go.
Like the chip, yeah, there you go, like the chip.
Okay. I mean, that's the best idea. I mean, the best ideas are ideas you've copied that somebody else has already tried and figured out and tested, and that's a great idea to. Again, all I'm talking about is the very ground roots starting point. We would need the council's buy-in, but just start a conversation at a very basic level,
I think
you
it's
know.
already planned. We talked
Pardon?
about, you already talked about that at the last city council meeting, didn't we, Lori?
About the neighborhood?
Yeah, yeah,
Of
we've
what?
got there's an agri-hood, information download on the backlog and of being scoped for a information site, a working site.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
neighborhood, is there a plan to go to the parkland and meet there and look at the area and?
we're having an information working session. I don't know if that entails a field trip. But it's, we're bringing in experts to have a information session. And since it would be public, I mean, that would be a good opportunity for this forum to come and observe too and learn.
Yeah, do you know when that's supposed to happen?
You're probably still for.
It's not
I know
set yet.
Bill's doing
It's
a
not
lot of
set yet.
research,
Okay.
so it's fresh. and all.
Ask us once the budget's done
Yeah.
and approved and finalized.
That's a great comment. I do wanna say that that is a huge work stream, and so that is a current critical path. So it's not a process, it's a process that I'm happy that I'm not pushing paper and participating in, so.
It should all be finalized at Monday's council meeting.
Good.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's almost 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Very cool. Well. Council's already working on it.
Well, I think the big thing would be to do is just to continue the research on other examples and how it might relate to, the lake. That's a good idea, and a connection point. Dawn, so, yes, so over here, I was thinking.
I mean, she's offered, I think at some point, I mean, I've gone out there with a few people before, it does really help visually just to go there. Cause then you can visualize how far is it from Bryn Hill, how much land, where's the lake, how big is it? It gives you a sense of what we're talking about, so maybe that could be in addition to that other stuff.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to. Leapfrog to it. You have to like build the infrastructure and all of that to it, so. It would entail more than just the lake and.
Well, that's the good thing about a development will come in and they pay
Mhm.
for the infrastructure, and that's where I
Right.
come in. I don't do a lot of the development work itself. I deal with. Once the infrastructure is in place or getting infrastructure there, that's kind of where my realm is. So I don't have a whole lot to say on the development aspect of that.
But that's what I'm saying, we're not just gonna get 35 acres or whatever, it's gotta be, the whole caboodle,
That's why that.
more than likely.
Pringle Creek is worth looking at, cause that's what they did there, right?
Yeah, and there's a newer one being developed in another city with more like newer homes, when the same idea of agri-food, and it's called, or in Donald, is it Donald? Oregon?
Mhm.
Yeah, Donald, Oregon.
Kind of like a
And
back
that
to
one's,
nature.
that one's kind of to get more of a perspective of what it looks like as something new now, to look at, see, because that one is more on the cheap side.
So can we look at large scale buildings? Put out there, if we wanted to like even,
Scale building, you can go.
so like think of like maybe like a community center or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
more
we
like
could-
a center,
Yeah, that's what I mean, like we,
yeah.
I think if there's a possibility, it sounds like,
Scale building.
oh yeah, I guess I was thinking. No, yeah, I was thinking like a community center, maybe a pool, gym, things like that, that attract people there, and then you also have. The other apartments, everything else we talked about.
Right, yeah.
It sounds like land is relatively scarce, so if we can maybe go one big project and maybe we're. That's, I don't know, I have my money and time into that, so.
That where the lake can be.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
Desmond, did you have anything to report to us?
Yeah, I get it.
The only thing I wanted to say tonight was before I came here, I responded to a resident request. They were concerned about fencing that was going out across their neighborhood in Sunset Ridge. And apparently, the HOA is building a dog park. And that was kind of the first time I had heard of any of that, and so I just gotta get in with planning and make sure all the permits and stuff in place. They may already know about it. But apparently over on 290th, they're gonna be building a dog park for the HOA.
Yeah, I saw it today. My daughter was on that street. And I was like, did you know they're putting fencing up right there? Cause they were out there putting posts in today.
Yeah, the only thing that always brought to my attention, there was a lot of people that were on that street that had told the HOA that they didn't want it there, so that's gonna be
There's
more of
only
a.
6 homes on them.
Yeah, and it's more of a dispute between them and the HOA more than anything.
Mhm.
We would only look at whether or not they had the fence permit.
Okay,
I mean, I was just talking to somebody today, so I'm updated on it. I'm phase one, this is phase two. They have it's a pretty small piece of land.
Oh, yeah.
The dogs play there all the time. A few times there was coyotes out in the field, so they really were scared that the dogs would chase the coyotes.
Mhm.
So all they're doing is enclosing the area they already use for dogs with 2 fences. To be honest, the vast majority of neighbors they talked to them said, no big deal. There was one particular neighbor who they were very upset. And, you know, again, part of an HOA is you can't, majority kind of rules, right? So this is a well-received idea. I go walk by there all the time at night. The dog owners are super responsible. You know, to be honest, they're not creating something to bring people from all of North Plains. It's a small little neighborhood.
It's funny because my daughter didn't know anything about it
And where does she live?
on that street.
Oh, no kidding.
There's not been a fence permit
No,
issue.
so have they started building?
Yeah,
Well, no, they have all the materials and everything out there in front.
there was a guy out there doing
They may have been doing
doing
post
post
holes.
holes
Yeah, very good.
today.
So that would be the only,
You can't even
the only
see it.
thing.
It's where's the soccer field?
back there.
It's on kind of a dead end street.
It's on a dead end street. There's a water quality facility there and there's just kind of an open field and back there. It's
Yeah.
actually about the same size as the dog park that we have on
Okay.
Pacific, except for it's more of a square and it's dry.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I don't know much about if communications it has been perfect or not, but again. They communicated quite a bit, I thought, a year ago. Have they been there a long time?
No, just 2 or 3 months.
Oh, so, yeah, they
Yeah.
had worked hard with the people a year ago and said, and then it took them a long time. I know nothing about the permits. If they didn't do that, that's not good, but again, it's not. I talk to the people a lot. I don't think from the perspective of the neighborhood, it's really a big deal. They're super conscientious on controlling the dogs. I think. It's a new idea that I guess one neighbor doesn't like, but I think what they're gonna find is it's lovely. I mean, to be honest, they're much closer to the soccer field. The soccer people are much noisier
Mhm.
and the lights get turned on at night much. I think they're gonna find this dog thing. It's actually,
Mhm.
it's very cute.
Yeah.
The dogs, they're very
Yeah.
nice.
yeah, I really don't have much to say about,
Yeah.
hey, it's an HOA, they have got their land, they can deal with it as far as they, as they can. But the only thing I told the resident is like, well, if they don't have a fence permit, maybe that'd be the thing that would really slow them down more than anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, my understanding, but I don't know, you know how that works. I don't, I presume when they hired somebody, they presume the fence company does what they're supposed to do. I don't think the HOA was thinking, we have to get a permit.
No, I think it is more along the lines is, are they gonna put the fence, keep it like outside of the right of way, that kind of thing. That's what we have to make sure that they're doing more than anything.
Yeah, they were gonna, it's inside the sidewalk. I think it's all in and it kind of lines up with what's there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the reason for like a fence permit,
permit.
that's, yeah.
Anyway, I think overall it'll be a good thing for the neighborhood.
Mhm.
But it is a issue with HOA. You just have to be honest with people, because I'm involved on the board of the other HOA. There are issues where majority rules.
But if it's Grand Hill, they don't technically have an HOA.
Sunset, it's
It's
hard.
sunset.
This is Sunset,
Okay, thank you.
and it's basically right by where that giant field is, the soccer field. It's right across from that.
Mhm. The back end of the field.
Next, to- well, you know the road. What's the road called?
An idea.
Yeah. 290th only has houses on one side, the other
Yeah,
side
there's
is
6 houses on
the
it.
natural area and then this dog spot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's at the very end of the dead end. Mhm. Okay,
Okay, I thought it would be interesting news, dog park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always good to have everything set up.
Secret. Everything, yeah.
Top secret.
Yeah,
is that it for you, Dustin?
For now, yeah.
Okay. Anybody, nobody else? All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at 7:07.